All right, we are live.
Welcome to Great Lakes Ghost Hunters of Michigan first live. I muted Brenda just because there's a feedback. When I talk, it comes back into my uh, headphones. So, of course, this is our first live um, team event, I guess you would call it. Um, Jessica will be joining us later. She has to make dinner for her family, so we're gonna give her that opportunity to spend time with her family. So hopefully we have some people uh, join in. Um, One of the things that we're gonna talk about. I got someone trying to get in. We're going to talk about investigations that we have been on. We're going to talk about different paranormal books that we've read. Brenda has been in one. I actually read it. I'm supposed to do a critique of the book. Um, that's forthcoming. It was an interesting book. Um, what else? Future investigations. Later on, when Jessica joins us, we'll talk about uh, her and I, the uh, Triple P podcast, and some other things that we've done in our past before joining Great Lakes Ghost Hunters of Michigan. And hopefully we can answer some questions of guests that join us. I'm going to go ahead and unmute Brenda.
Hey, now did you say somebody was trying to join us?
It says device is not connected. Was supposed, I guess Jeff. I don't know who um,
I was
Jeff
gonna say
is.
we can try to let him in, and if see what he's
It's
on.
not. It's not giving me that option.
Okay, all right.
So when he gets connected,
Oh, here he is. He's with Detroit Rock City. Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
okay.
Do you want to come in and Ryan can send you the link if you want to go live with us? Oh, you don't have a mic or camera. Okay, no problem. Well, let's go ahead and we'll start with one of our subjects. What's the first thing you want to start with, Ryan?
Well, Brenda, if you could let us know, there's a lot of feedback. If you could, you're you're the one on the team that has the most experience.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about some of the interesting things that you've uh, done in your investigative career as a ghost
Well,
hunter?
okay. Well, I first started out doing basically the historical researching for properties. Um, the team that I was on did not do that before, and I guess I kind of added more credibility by bringing in things that could be validated, who lived there, find the death certificates, and stuff like that. My first time actually ghost hunting, we went to Port Huron, and there's a train car. I think it's called the Thomas Edison train car. And I can remember just trying so hard to hear things and, see things. It was my first time, and they were using laser grids to try to see entities. We then went over to, there's a ship in Port Huron, and one of the guys was actually saying he was hearing direct voice phenomenon on the ship. It was kind of hard because you had the Blue Water Bridge, and you could hear all the traffic going across, and that there was a lot of outside contamination. But it was very interesting doing two places like that, because I would have never thought of a train car or a boat. Usually you just think of houses.
Right.
So, and then everything then was communicating with flashlights. Show me a yes, blink on, show me, turn on and off, And now, the longer that we've been into this, people usually don't use the flashlight as a form of communication anymore.
Okay.
So,
I'm checking this. There's a lot of feedback.
well, it's probably just going to be something we have. It doesn't sound like it on my end. One thing I think, though, as a ghost hunter, though, you have to love history, because you got to know what was going on back in the time, maybe when somebody was living there, or what it was like. A lot of people talk about things walking through walls. Well, the house may have been redone, and what was once a door there is no longer. I've got the dog here wanting on my lap. Come here. So he won't come. Come here. So now, did you see Ghost Nation the other day where Jason Hawes used some cadaver dogs?
Oh yeah, I did watch that, and I want to say, when the two guys were out near the witch tree,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you caught it, but I caught it. The one guy with the scarf on, I don't know what their names are, but the one guy with the scarf on, he actually made the sound of a stick breaking with his mouth.
Oh no, I didn't catch that.
I caught it. I'm like, you son of a. We're trying to be very diplomatic, and we're not trying to make evidence when no evidence is there. And he went like a stick broke, and I'm like, the camera was right on your face, and you did that.
I did watch Ghost Hunters the other night too, and what was driving me crazy was the whispering. They're constantly whispering. And when you ghost hunt, you don't whisper, because you might mistake that as an EVP.
Correct.
So that was driving me crazy. I'm not watching too many shows lately now. I mean, it's kind of hard to watch shows when you get to do it real time all the time.
True. So one of the things that I noticed in Ghost Nation was that one of the pieces of evidence that they captured was a shadow walking through, I think, the dining room to through a wall. And we've talked about in our team investigations where when you have a residual haunting, the ghost will continue to go in whatever direction or path that they've gone thousands of times. And it was interesting because I didn't know this. It was interesting that there were some cultures that had two front doors. And one was an everyday door. So that's the door that they would have gone in and out every day living in that house. The other door was only used like 2 or 3 times in your whole life. Once when you're born, once when you're dead, and then possibly for one, something other special occasion. I thought that was interesting for them to point that out.
But just think about the Felton farmhouse. They had a door in the parlor there, but it's no longer there. So would we catch anything residual walking out that door if we really went back and did another investigation there?
And that's what I really want to do. The problem with Felton Farmhouse is because it's so close to Wayne Road. It's Wayne at the front of the house. Wayne Road is literally 50 feet away. So when I did last October, when we did our fundraiser for the West Side Museum, all the cameras that I had in that house picked up all the traffic all night long, because what I did was I let the cameras go until the next day. And I had a camera in the master bedroom in the second floor. And actually I had two cameras up there, and I had a camera in the dining room. I think I had one in the parlor. So I haven't gone through all of it because there's so much, I think I ended up with 24 hours of video on 4 cameras. So think of how much evidence I could have come across, but because it's so close to Wayne Road, that traffic, it just contaminates it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And, we have a lot of opportunities, for different buildings that we have here in Westland. I think we should go back up to the schoolhouse. And
There's a lot of echo there.
yeah, there is, because of Warren Road. Trying to think of, some other places that might be, Marshall's Governor's Mansion. I'm, going through that servant's door, put a camera there, and that would be pretty interesting to see what you capture there.
Yeah.
So.
I know when we were there in October, Tim, one of our team members, was setting up not in the servant's bedroom, but in that room right outside where the little steps are going up into the master's bedroom. He heard something or felt something or he saw something, and I did have a camera up there, but it was facing into the servant's bedroom, so I didn't see what they saw. Now I've had my cameras for about a year, and I've gotten used to the different settings and different things on how to use them. So I'm hoping going forward with 12 cameras. Yes, I have 12 little cameras. They look like this. I got them for $26 a piece. I also have external batteries that should let them run for a few hours without being hooked up to a power source. Or I'm sorry, that would be the power source. But they can record for a few hours, whatever is, when we go to Hinsdale, hopefully at the end of May, I want to take a couple and put them outside, like where the giving tree is, by the pond, by the tree out front, on the front porch. And I'm hoping that we can get something by the hanging tree. That is if we still get to go.
Now, I see Jeff was talking about Soup Cemetery. Now, I don't know if he knows this. There's supposed to be an alleged witch buried there. I don't remember her name offhand, but I did try to do some research on her, and I found no evidence whatsoever that she was an actual witch or practiced it or anything like that. Soup Cemetery is supposed to be a pretty active cemetery. We went during the daytime. I think it was Ace, Patty, and I went out there, and yep. And then we did, some dowsing rod work there. Just a little bit. It was pretty chilly out too. It was in the fall time when we went, so could be pretty active because of the lake there. Because usually entities get a lot of energy from water sources. You're talking about the noise, the lake noise. I know rivers are usually a good power source for entities. I'm not sure about waves or lakes, though.
The only thing I really know about Soup Cemetery is that I'm going to butcher his name. Amariah Rawson is buried there, and he is a veteran of the Revolutionary War.
Ooh, I should look him up on the Patriot Index.
He is, I don't know if it's him or his son. They are the reason why we had Rawsonville Road, Rawsonville, the community, and then Rawsonville, the road, and which half of Rawsonville is actually under the lake.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so if you ever go to Rawsonville, where the Kmart used to be, on the Kmart is Rawsonville and the 94 Service Drive. That area right there on both sides of Rawsonville Road, that's the only thing left of Rawsonville itself.
Now, Jeff is saying the Ford Dam filled the lake. I don't remember. We did some video, I think, over at Soup Cemetery. It's on our YouTube channel. We actually went to the headstone of the person who was supposed to be the witch. I didn't hear about Mrs. Soup, as far as I understand, if I remember correctly, as her being the one. So maybe that's why I didn't find any evidence of the person we went to as being one. So I was also thinking, we were talking about doing those unsolved mysteries. And we were supposed to go seeing Little Richie there. I call him Little Richie, okay? I keep seeing these ads on Facebook for these strong magnets. Yeah, there he is. This? Yeah. He's kind of got, a little spot here in my heart. What if we were doing an investigation by where his body was laid? We had one of those giant magnets like you see on Facebook, and we find the murder weapon.
Yeah. That's why I asked about introducing a metal detector as part of our equipment. My dad has one, and he doesn't use it, so I was going to borrow it. I would like to take it to Hinsdale, not to dig up anything, but just to practice.
I asked for one for my birthday, too.
When's your birthday?
May 17th.
Oh, so we're supposed to be going to Hinsdale 5 days after your birthday.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's probably going to be humid. I hope it's not going to be humid. I hope it's going to be just nice and comfortable.
Yeah.
So another thing I was thinking of, because we're all locked down with this COVID-19. We're all in our houses and everything. I've noticed messages for investigations has really decreased.
Oh yeah.
Do you think? What is your thoughts on that? I mean, if you're living in a haunted house, wouldn't it bother you? Wouldn't you want to reach out to somebody or?
Yeah. it could possibly be. I don't know.
I mean, it's just
Yeah,
nobody's really talking about it too much about certain hauntings or that. And I do see a lot of groups going for walks in local cemeteries. And like I told somebody, I was joking around. I said, well, the 6 foot rules there, they're just 6 foot under instead of 6 feet away from you. So you don't have to worry about social distancing in a cemetery.
right. Um. Okay, sorry, Jeff. I just noticed the private chat on the side. Um, Jeff says it's better instead of using the metal detector, it's better to use ground penetrating radar. Um, I would probably tend to agree. However, I don't have the money for that. Um, it. I would love to do it.
No, you're not, Jeff.
No, just us. Um, let's see. Yeah, that is a pricey piece of equipment. Um, yeah, I don't know how much ground penetrating radar would cost, but it is. It's the size. If you, I actually watched on the History Channel, Hunting Hitler, because they think that Hitler survived. He faked his own death, killed his girlfriend, or I'm sorry, his wife, uh, and escaped to South America. And during the investigation, they were using ground penetrating radar, and it's the size of a lawnmower. That's how big this thing is. It's the size of a lawnmower. Um, but the great thing about it is it's like a fish sonar, but it'll throw out radio waves into the ground, and it'll map what's underneath. And I don't know the particulars. I don't know everything about ground penetrating radar. I just know I've seen it done, at least on TV. But it would be an interesting piece of equipment.
You know what is an interesting show I just saw?
What's that?
Is those treasure, was it, uh, it's like almost like that Oak Island show, but it was like finding this treasure from World War II in the Philippines.
You're talking about
Lost gold of World War II or something, I think it was.
Yamamoto?
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting show.
Okay. I
And it
thought you
makes
hated Oak Island.
I do. It's because they never find anything, and it's almost like this show
Have you watched this season?
of Oakland. Matt watches it. If you watch.
Uh, Oak Island this year, they found a lot.
Really?
$9,000 for a GPR unit.
Did you know also, since you and I are on that Civil War group,
Yeah.
the Fourth Michigan Cavalry supposedly stole the gold from the South from Sherman, and they hid it in Lake Michigan somewhere. So somewhere in Lake Michigan, there's supposed to be gold.
So, there's an offshoot of Oak Island about that.
Oh, is there?
Yes.
Are they looking for it?
I can't remember the name of it, but there's an offshoot of Oak Island because one of the Lagina brothers is in this other show because he's kind of like their financial backer.
Okay.
So I watched I think the first season. I haven't watched the second or third.
I have to tell you, you look like you have a gold tooth. The other
Right
way.
there?
Yeah. Be Pippin. All right. I want people to know. To Ryan, do a Civil War era style beard. What do you think, Jeff? Should he cut it so it's like, just around the cheeky area and his mustache?
All right, hold on. Let me show you. Did I save it to my phone? No.
You see, go for it. Oh, that's sad. Civil War Remembrance Days is canceled at the village. I mean, there's so much stuff that's been canceled. All my meetings for my historical groups have been canceled too. It's pretty sad. I can't meet with the DAR or other groups. So I've been doing a lot of genealogy stuff since I've been home here. I've gotten some documentation done on, I think, 4 other uncles. Okay, can we see it or is it going to be too bright? It's too bright. I don't think we can see it.
All right, hold on. Let me turn down the brightness.
I am trying to find out if my one uncle in Kent County has a headstone. I don't think he does, so I'm going to see if I can get one for him because he served in the Civil War. But he was in an Ohio regiment. Better. You tip it back. There you go, right there. So is that the kind of, should Ryan do that? Could you imagine him walking around?
There you go.
There you go. That's perfect. I think he should. Jessica's like,
that's General Ambrose Burnside. And about 15 years ago, way before I met Jessica and Brenda and everybody in our ghost hunting team, I was studying to be a teacher, a history teacher, and I actually cut my hair to look like that.
Oh my gosh, I wish I would have seen that.
Cut my beard like that. It was the mustache down to the jawline and then up to the ears.
That's cool. I love seeing guys with the handlebar mustaches and I love that.
I can't do that. I can't do that.
I mean,
well, I need to get rid of this.
It's never going to go away, dear.
If I shave it off, it will.
Antique highlights. That's what I call them. Hey, no. I'm getting them too.
I don't have any. Jeff says we have one young presenter. He stays in costume all the time. For the Civil War.
Are there others in there? No, I don't think so at the moment.
Just the 3 of us so far.
Try to. We can try to invite others. This is just the first time, so people may catch on to it later. Is there any kind of subjects you want us to cover, Jeff? Is there any dying questions you want to know?
Dying questions.
Hey.
So we were talking about Hinsdale. There's 3 books written on Hinsdale House. It's supposed to be going to Facebook, so I don't know why it's.
I'm checking.
Why it's not.
I posted it all over. Mike says he can't find it. What's the link? Send me the link.
All right, hold on.
I don't know if I copy this thing here. Let's see if I could try this. I'll message Mike. Mike's trying to get on here. Oops. I can't even type. Oh my goodness. You're terrible. Unless you have actual link. Can you hear me? Okay. Or what I could do is I'll see if they can join us the other way. How's that?
Which way?
If he can come in on studio with us. There we go. Let's see if I can get some people to come online because we can have up to 6 people, I think, on this show. So we can take 4 more people. And I've done some investigation with the mic before. So let's see if we can get some more Great Lakes people too.
So Jeff said that his team did Hinsdale, but he wasn't able to go.
Aww.
I loved Hinsdale. I mean, it's 10 acres.
No,
There's
no,
hardly anybody around. Scary as hell. And no, I'm not saying hell because they did a exorcism in the living room. Video style.
What's video style? What do you mean by video style?
Jeff posted that.
Oh, okay.
I know I also put it on YouTube.
Okay. That's cool. Let me see. I asked one of my friends if he could do some talks with us, you know. Let me see.
Jeff said that there were 9 people doing a video chat, like with what Zoom is doing these days.
Okay.
All right, let me see if I can get into.
Let me see if I can get Jimmy on here. He's the one that did he's one of the authors from the book that you read.
Which book?
The one that I was in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Gary's wondering what we're doing.
You can get to it through our YouTube channel. It's on there.
I'm going to talk about because the book is called Phantom Messages. And, well, I can talk about a little bit maybe, if that's okay. I work in a school, so usually when I'm off on breaks, I get some weird phone calls and on the voicemail system, and I'll get like, Brenda. And some of my coworkers can tell you about that, and you know, and some weird stuff. So I told Jimmy about it. Jimmy, he's like Mr. Haunted or Mr. Paranormal. I can't remember what his name is offhand. Hang on a second. And so I told them about it, and so they wanted to see my evidence. And so he wrote about it in his book. So what did you think about the book, Ryan? You're muted.
I had to find my unmute button. So I liked it because of the way. Well, first of all, the way it's laid out is very well done. I liked how they talked about each case, and then they gave their the criteria and like a layout of how they could how they did it. Some of the stories that I liked yours, and every time I think about your the one at your office, I think of the 2 little girls. Because so Brenda works in a school here in Westland, and the school was built before 1967. I don't know exactly what year. Bless you. Uh, but in 1967, there were two little girls, sisters, that they were on their way home um, uh, from school, and this 14-year-old boy who apparently was sniffing glue snatched them. Don't know if there was any rape or anything like that. Um, he snatched him up and killed him. It was the first and, to my knowledge, only time murder of this kind had happened in Westland. It was 1967, Jeff. It was the only time to my knowledge, this has ever happened, but it changed our community going forward. I can't remember the girls' names. They lived right on Wayne Road, north of Marquette. The house that they lived in is still there. I believe it's right next to AutoZone. And I can share the newspaper articles that I found. I think it was the Free Press from 1967. But every time that Brenda talks about her experience in her office, I think of those two little girls because it's so close. But in your investigation, I don't know if you wasn't it a boy? There's a little boy in the school and an old man. Sorry, I muted Brenda because every time I talk and she is talking too, I can hear our feedback. One of our investigators, Kaylonda or Lon, is trying to come in. Hello. Let me let you in. And okay. I'll add Mike too. Mike is on. Hey, Kaylonda. Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Lon, can you turn your camera? Nope. Nope, the other way.
This way?
Yep, there you go.
Oh, okay.
You were sideways.
Oh. All right.
So Lon is one of our investigators, and Mike is investigator on Detroit Rock City.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
You're welcome. Tell everybody that if they go to our YouTube page for Great Lakes Ghost Hunters, it is live on there. So if they want to watch, they can watch there. So Mike, Jeff says hi.
Hey, Jeff.
So we were talking about Richard Stryker, little boy that was murdered in 1938. Brenda, somewhere in there. I'll unmute you.
Yeah, I think it was in the 30s that he was murdered. They've never solved his murder at this time. So we were going to try to do some little unsolved mystery stuff if we could, where they found his body in Ypsilanti. So we kind of talked about a little bit like that, and then Ryan was just talking about the hauntings at the school I work at. And there was a murder of two young girls by there. The little boy that we have in my school, we call him George. We really don't know what his name is. You know, he comes up and he will he'll turn the faucets on in my office full blast. The clocks will start spinning out of control. The computer screens will go all screwy and that. And I did take a spirit box there one time. And because the maintenance people also told me that something throws toys around the school. One of our secretaries got locked into a closet. So, you know, I did a spirit box session and there were some adults there and I says, is there a little boy here? And they go, he's coming now. And this is actually on the YouTube channel, I think. It's probably under my Brenda Ozog channel though, but you'll see the spirit box session there. And some testing that I have done with spirit boxes, I've had a spirit box out and I'll do like a trigger item. And I'll say, what is this? And I've had my box go, I had my dog at the time out here. Hi, Brenda and dog. We're getting somebody else, aren't we? Hi, Jeff.
Yep, we got Jeff.
All right. So I do a lot of testing of equipment like that. So like one time I had Girl Scout cookies and I heard yum, buy me. And they seem to really like that. So I try to test out stuff as much as possible to get the validity of the equipment.
So my team likes to make fun of me because in November we went to where did we go in Dundee? It was the
mill.
The old mill. They had a convention there, and I met Tim Shaw. And he was selling dowsing rods the telescopic dowsing rods that look like a pen when they're closed up. So I picked them up and I was looking at them. And I said, "How much you want for them?" And he goes, "Just take them." So I put them in my coat pocket, and they've been there ever since. So I'm always ready to go ghost hunting.
You're always prepared.
Exactly. But I was a Boy Scout.
You never know.
Right.
What's some interesting cases you've had, Mike?
I'm sorry?
What's some interesting cases that you've had?
I'd say probably the most interesting, or to me anyway, was our visit out to the Hinsdale house last year.
Okay.
It was just a crazy night. The evidence that we picked up was probably the best evidence I've gathered in 7-8 years that I've been doing this. We had Paul came out. What was Paul's last name? Paul Kenyon came out. He's the author of
This book.
The book. Yep, there you go. The book about the Hinsdale house. So he came out and he spent probably about 3 hours with us, just sharing a lot of history of the house. And the house really seemed to come alive when Paul was in the house. We do have some evidence where he was antagonizing the house or the spirits, and he heard a disembodied voice. We picked it up on tape. None of us heard it until we played the tape back, and
all the recorders had it.
every recorder that was going picked it up, and it was just crazy. But yeah, that house, that location is awesome. It's a great location.
Anything for you?
You were muted, Brenda.
Ask Kaylonda what's the most interesting case she's been on. Get on mute her though.
Hold on, Kayla. There you go.
I haven't really got to go on many yet.
Well, you've been to Eloise.
Yeah, there's that one, and the one I went with, just me and Brenda went.
Oh, which one was that?
I don't remember where exactly.
It was an attachment case out near, oh gosh, where did we go? It was up northeast of us, out by the way. I can't think what it is. We got a lot of people this year that think they have attachments, so we had to go for a few of those.
So I'm gonna tell this one. So before the beginning of the year, we were contacted by someone. They were out in Lansing, and as the investigation came up, it was an attachment case, or I don't think that was all of it. I think there was more to it. I'm going to tell this part, and then Brenda's going to tell you about the case. So as the week going up to the case unfolded, on Wednesday or Thursday, I was sleeping, and about 3 or 4 in the morning, I was laying with my head like this because behind my laptop is the way anyway. I was sleeping and I had my head facing. I was laying on my right side, and I opened my left eye, and I saw a shadow just go like this. And all I did was I waved my hand like this, and I basically said, "Get the F away from me." And it disappeared. The next day, Jessica, one of our other investigators, she and I were meeting to record an episode of our podcast. And on her way from her house to the location we were recording in, 3 times she saw a figure either walk right behind her car while she's doing 40 miles an hour down the street, or sitting in her back seat. And the same day that happened, Brenda had scratches on her. Was it on your arms? And then that Sunday is when they went to the investigation, and I'll let Brenda tell you what the investigation was.
Well, we had called up another team. We called up from Kentucky to assist us with this, and we found out that the parents were doing some cult practices, and apparently the attachment attached onto the client, and it occurred before she was an adult, so she really had no way of giving it permission to have an attachment to her. We were there for a while, and we had to get it was pretty rough, and it was pretty dark. And I know right now she kind of feels like there's still some stuff going on, but we don't know if it's because she misses the attachment because she was so used to it, or what was going on. But the parents were doing satanic worshiping at the time in the past. And then the brother was in the basement doing witchcraft with his girlfriend. And there was so much stuff going on in that house. I mean, I don't know how you could actually take care of it all. I mean, it would take days.
Yeah.
So does Kelly want to come on, Mike?
I want to probably.
Yeah,
Come on, let her come on.
she's fixing her hair up so she can get on.
So
I'm still in my jammies.
Oh, we lost Jeff.
I was just going to ask him a question.
Okay,
So
you can go ahead.
Brenda and I have talked about doing cold cases or
Unsolved mysteries.
unsolved mysteries. We talked about Jimmy Hoffa. or the Richard Stryker. Hey, Mike's wearing a Tiger shirt too. I'm wearing one too. So there's these books. I don't know if they're unsolved, but they're supposed to be world famous. I don't know if you guys want to take a look at some of these cases. There's other. I mean, I don't. In the year and a half that I've been an investigator, I think how many cases have we been on? I think I've been on close to 30.
Probably more. Jeff,
And
Brian was going to ask you a question.
there he is. Hold on, let me get him back in here.
There he
All right,
is.
Jeff, there he is. So we were going around and asking everybody what their most interesting case was. What would you say is your favorite case or most interesting case?
Well, I'm fairly new to all this. I did the Eloise where they had the teams come in. One of the first ones I did was Willis House with a group, and that was pretty interesting. There was quite a bit of stuff happening. I got my hair pulled, which is kind of difficult. Having a ton of it. We were in the main room. There were a bunch of us. It was me and I think all the girls on the group, and I was burning up. I was sweating. It was hot. And they're all going, no, it's cold in here. They were all cold. Come to find out, that room had been on fire back in the day, and several people died in fire in that room. Not sure why I was the only one that was hot in there, but it's just kind of unusual. Yeah, they're not hot in that way. Those days are long gone. But so far it's been pretty interesting. Haven't had a lot of stuff happen in too much of the investigations. Haven't gone on enough of them yet to really have a huge collection of anecdotes about it. But it's really interesting. Get to do a lot of really cool things and see a lot of really neat stuff.
Kaylonda left.
I really like the Eloise because I have a lot of history with Eloise. My grandmother was a nurse. My uncle worked in the boiler, was a boiler operator. Cousins were ward attendants, and uncles were inmates. So I have a lot of history with Eloise. Plus, I live right next door to it most of my life.
Okay.
So that was very interesting to get to finally go in that building, because I had been in that building as a child when it was operational, and I worked there in E building, which is gone, in high school for a couple of weeks as a bottle washer. So,
Before you go on, Jessica is going to want to talk to you.
Sure.
One of our investigators, she's doing a documentary on Eloise, and she wants to do it from the point of view of people that work there, people that they have a lot of stories, and she basically wants to do it as like shadows and light, because a lot of what we talk about today is Eloise is like the urban legend stuff. She wants to do the actual history.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's very fascinating history.
Oh yeah, definitely. I never, because I was born in '79, so I was never.
78.
I'm not saying it to to be mean, but I never got a chance to go into Eloise, any of the buildings other than D building.
My grandmother was a nurse in D building, and it was an eerie feeling because I was there. I can't remember which floor, third floor. There's a bench outside the nurse's office.
Okay.
And I remember I was probably 9, maybe 10 years old, sitting on that bench waiting, because my grandmother was a nurse and she was in the office behind me. And I was waiting for her to get off shift to take me home, because I lived with her at the time. and there was a woman sitting there, and she was holding a doll, and she was trying to get me to interact with the doll because she thought the doll was her child. She actually thought the doll was alive, and that was a very vivid memory for me still to this day. Something you really forget, but I'm hoping it was the same bitch. I don't know if it was or not, but it's kind of a neat thing to have happen, 40 some odd years later.
Right.
But yeah, I saw that on the Westland historical page that they were going to have somebody do that. Yeah, I would like to be part of that. Possible.
I will definitely get her in touch with you.
Great.
Kaylana's back.
I'm not.
I think somewhere.
Can
the
you hear
videos.
I can hear you.
Can
Can you
hear
hear?
you.
Don't turn the light on
I keep.
somewhere.
Oh, is that what I gotta do? Oh, I gotta move.
Ooh.
Okay. Hold on.
All I see is a dark room.
Okay.
The red room
So
That works? No?
I see red.
red
Yeah, I
room.
don't understand. I was having an issue. I couldn't hear anybody, so I left. Okay, what's the YouTube thing? I'll go on there.
Uh,
I don't know what it is.
well, it's the team YouTube page. Hold on. If you
I'll
go
go
on,
find it.
yeah, hold on. It's go to YouTube and search for, where is it? Gray Lakes Ghost Hunters of Michigan,
Okay.
and it's on there.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna go do that because I can't get this thing to work right.
Okay,
No. All right, bye.
bye.
Talking about the Eloise, I was trying to watch the Destination Fear where they were staying at Eloise,
Yeah,
and they're walking out down the road going to go across the river. Don't go back there. You'll find some real scary stuff under that bridge. But they never finished going back behind that bridge because, yeah, that's pretty scary back there. Yeah, for all the.
You been back there, Jeff?
Not in a lot of years, but I know that it's where all the homeless crackheads live under that bridge. A lot of them. I'm assuming they still do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my
All right.
was a fireman in that firehouse there for years. So he's still alive. He's still alive, so I might be able, if they do have this thing, I can maybe get him to come see that.
who is? Do you know the name?
His last name is right. I'm blanking on his first name. That's the problem when you get old. You forget people's names, especially when they're your first cousins. Billy was one fireman. Tommy Wright. Jeez.
Okay. I talked to
killing short-term memory is pretty common.
I talked to a guy Slezik, Joe Slezik, I think. His father was a firefighter at Eloise.
I got to get my cable, plug my phone. It's going dead.
I worked at Eloise probably from 2006 to 2012 when I was with public health. I had to go in there a lot for meetings, and a lot of the coworkers there would tell me how they'd hear screams and something would steal their keys, and they hated working there because it was all all the stuff going on. And we'd go over there for trainings, and my coworkers would tell me, "Don't you dare pull out any of your ghost hunting stuff because we don't want to hear it." They would freak out about it. Like, did you hear that? And they're like, "Stop it!"
Right.
So when DPX first started doing the tours there, not last fall, but the fall before, Brenda and I were asked, because we're commissioners with the Westland Historical Village, we were asked to come and do some of the history for Eloise, and Todd and Jeff had a picture of a TV room, and they wanted to know which room in D building it was taken in. So they had we were up on the fourth floor, and they had let the participants just wander around. And I took the picture, and I went down to the I went up to the fifth floor, and it didn't match that room. We were in the fourth floor talking about it, and of course it didn't match that one. So I went by myself down to the third floor. As soon as I stepped foot off the stairwell, I felt a finger in my back like this, pushing me to where this picture was taken. So when I found out where it was taken, I walked back to the stairs, and when I stepped up off the third floor onto the first step, that sensation went away. And third floor, that's where Brenda felt someone punching her in the head. That's where the lady, when we were there on the same day, the lady was using a fleur and caught a guy with either suspenders or a wife beater, like a tank top, undershirt or whatever. And third floor is just so active. Last year, we had Brenda and some of our other investigators were in the center of the basement. I was at the far end from where we walked down, where the door is to go outside. They yelled down to me and said, "Did you just hear a woman scream?" And I said, "No." They actually heard someone scream at my end of the hallway, and there was no woman screaming. So it was weird how we were in the same general area, but and with their ears, they heard a woman scream, but I couldn't hear the woman.
Yep.
Is Kelly still trying to get on?
Her battery died. She's plugging it in, so she got to get a few percentage points. Yeah,
so
and Kelly can share when she gets on. She was on the third floor when we were there with the group tours, and all right, Kelly will tell you. So getting yelled at.
Okay, so while Kelly's getting ready, Mike, we're trying to get a poll done to see if Ryan should shave his beard like the Civil War guy.
Do you know who Ambrose Burnside is?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
Okay, so basically it goes down like this.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe just the goatee, maybe. No, don't do it. Don't listen to him. No, don't listen to him.
He's a
They're steering you
historian.
wrong.
He's a historical buff.
You just want a conversation
No
piece.
more.
I'm buff.
Don't do it.
This.
There we
Yes.
go. There we go.
No. Tap it out. No way.
Hey, my mom said to go ahead and do it.
If your mom says to do it, then do it. No.
If mom said, you can always shave it all off.
Oh. Jeff said his phone died.
Oh, bummer. So, what was it you were having me talk about? My husband's sitting right here. He's working on his computer. What was it you wanted me to
Hi,
tell
Matt.
him about the other? He said hi. On the other show I was at talking about something. I don't know. So.
Yeah, Eloise was really cool getting into the, the building, but, doing with the public, you just didn't have an opportunity to truly investigate it. So,
Have you been to Mansfield before?
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kayla
we
says do
went
it.
with you 2 years ago.
Yeah, we're supposed to be going there in June.
Yep.
To Mansfield Reformatory.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's where they filmed Shawshank Redemption and Air Force One.
Yes.
So there is a place there that you're supposed to sit in a chair in the dark for so long. They got these challenges, and then they also got this challenge to walk basically the cell block.
Yeah.
To experience anything. So I want to see if Ryan can handle it.
Wait, what?
I want to see if you can handle the challenges over at Mansfield.
So yes, I muted you. I keep getting feedback from her.
Yeah.
So I'm the one that wants to sit outside at Hinsdale. Nobody else wants to. I'm the one that wants to, or that went by himself all over Monroe House, has gone by himself all through Eloise, sitting by myself. So I think I can probably handle Ohio State Reformatory.
Do you remember when I first met you? You wanted nothing to do.
I blocked that away.
You wanted nothing to do with this stuff. You didn't want to talk to me. Then one day we had you come over and you were just all in.
She's telling it wrong.
Okay, you tell it then. You tell it then.
No. I don't remember it that way.
Oh, it's funny. We did, I don't know if Kelly was with us or that at the time. We went to Hackett Auto Museum, and that's like a mile away from the original Jackson State Prison. And we had some newspaper guys and stuff, and I have this on recorder, and I felt like something was stabbing me, and I says, I feel like I'm being stabbed, and I got an EVP saying I am right now. And I think after that point, that's when Matt started believing things I would tell him because he heard it for himself.
Yeah, Hackett was pretty cool. When we did the adult walk there with them. Yeah, it livened up. It was that stormy night. It was really rainy and thunder, lightning, and I think it really spiked up the activity levels there. That was a fun night.
I'm sure Ted would let us come back whenever we want it.
Yeah, we were supposed to do it again within this past fall, but then he had the whole the city thing with the permits, and they had to get the building up to code, and then we just couldn't reschedule with them.
Right.
We were already booked.
Yeah, well, we have, I know we have Marshall Mansion coming up. And then, of course, we have our Wayne Museum and the Westland Historic Village Park. And poor George at Felton Farmhouse probably feels so lonely because he hasn't seen us in so long.
Yeah, or Rose.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Jeff said he would hate to do a car museum. That one at Hackett was pretty interesting because, in the back, too, it felt like something crushed, like you got hit by something. And I believe some guy got crushed by one of the cars or something, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
You could feel it in that back corner, that back right corner. I don't remember if I found a death certificate later on or not, but yeah, it was pretty interesting. And then having to go to the bathroom at the bar next door. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was tempted to do a tryout, you know.
Pick up a few extra bucks.
Hey, you know, got all this, you know. Ryan doesn't know what to say now.
So, is there a location that if you could, money was no object, there was no restrictions, is there a location that you would love to go to? Anybody?
Alcatraz.
I'm not
That's
sure.
probably one of the ones I'd want to go to. Maybe Tombstone or something out west.
I'll go with that.
Huge,
I tried to talk to Buffalo Bill, but Buffalo Bill wasn't very chatty when I tried to do an EVP session with him.
No. Yeah, I would like to get up to the northeast, to Salem and to the Conjuring House.
I wonder how much of now one of my ancestors was in the witch trials. I wonder how much activity just being there would get things going.
Sure, absolutely.
I have like probably 3 early American witches I want to.
For me, I would probably say I'll give you 5. First would be Alcatraz, and there's no, they're not in any specific order. Alcatraz, Winchester House. I would love to do either Ford's Theater or the boarding house across the street where Lincoln died. And if I can't do that, then I would probably want to do the White House. But I would probably say any of the presidential houses that they lived in. Gettysburg, number 1, gotta go there. Especially since I know that I'm related to the family that owned the farm where the battle was fought on.
I couldn't stay at Gettysburg when I was there the only time I've ever been there. I just had this immense fear. I had to run. And Matt wanted to go so bad there, and I'm like, I couldn't wait to get out of there because I was so anxious and I couldn't stay. It was crazy.
Jeff says he'd like to do Greenfield Village.
It's hard to get in Greenfield Village. I've tried in the past. Now, I have a question for you guys because they had the Titanic exhibit there. Do you think it would be ethical as a ghost hunter to take your stuff to exhibit like that and try to get some responses, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just kind of borderline, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I probably wouldn't feel right doing it. Breaking out the equipment. If you brought a meter or throw something in your purse or something, probably not a big deal. But if you're trying to conduct a, full EVP session and, doing some more extensive things, that might get a little dicey, I guess. Yeah, it probably have to tiptoe around that.
Jeff says that during training at Greenfield Village, they were told not to speak of any paranormal activity. I can understand that.
But it's kind of hard if you're a museum. You have all these historic artifacts that have the energy to them. I mean, you can't say one museum doesn't have activity. I mean, you and I can say that, Ryan, because I mean, look at all the work we do with museums. You know, I mean, so it's very difficult. I want to say for a museum employee not to talk about stuff because it's going to be there.
True.
Yeah.
They just want the facts, huh?
Yeah, they just want the historical facts. So, I know they don't want the employees to talk about the paranormal activity at Greenfield Village, but I did experience something in the. There's a slaves' quarters. I forget where exactly it is on the grounds, but I went in. And you go in, and they've got TVs on one wall, and it talks about life as a slave. And I'm sitting there, I'm listening, and there's nobody else around. There's no animals around. And I'm wearing, I forget if I had sandals on or shoes, but I had shorts on. I swear to God, a cat rubbed up against my leg. There was no cat. There was nothing there. Yes, the Hermitage slave quarters.
I think that happened to Joe Francis over at the Battle Alley Antiques. He gets a lot of animals on his when he was doing a lot of investigations there. He captures a lot of stuff.
This was before I got into ghost hunting.
Oh.
This was before I believed.
He's a believer now. Ooh.
Oh yeah, I'm writing a book.
You're still fighting it.
A little bit. I think skeptics who become believers will always have that, skepticism.
Sure.
I think because we've come into it from a different through a different path than others. I think that Brenda, she's been doing it for what, 8 years now, almost 10. So she's been doing it a lot longer than I have. She knows what she's listening for. I am still trained to block things out. I'm not trained to, oh, did you hear that guy, that stick that broke? We were talking about this earlier, Ghost Nation, the other night. They were in Gettysburg, and one of the investigators, I was watching it, and the camera was right on his face, and he made the clicking noise like someone's breaking a stick, stepping on it. And when I watched it, I'm like, I rewound it just to see, and I'm like, dude, you made the sound with your noise, and then you're asking, what was that sound? I don't want to do that. I don't want my team to do that.
Right.
But I don't want to say I hear something when I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm much like you. I came into this 100% skeptical. I don't have any superpowers, and never had anything happen to me, at a younger age or anything. So I haven't really been exposed to it. Kelly joined the team, and then I came along with her. And I mean, everything that I have come to learn about this has all been evidence-based. At Hinsdale was the very, very first time that I was ever touched. And I was sitting there talking to Paul in the in the
By the
kitchen.
showcase.
Yeah, we were sitting there in the kitchen. We're just talking, just two of us, and it felt like a moth was fluttering on the back of my neck. And I whipped around real quick to make sure that there was nothing flying around. I asked Paul if he saw anything, and it was just crazy. I mean, that's the one and only time that's ever happened.
Yeah. Jeff's back. So, Kelly, do you want to tell us what happened to you at Eloise?
Sure. So we go up there to help out with the tours. And I was feeling kind of melancholy, very vanilla about the whole thing because nothing had happened yet. And it really wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. But anyway, so I think Jeff and I were close together on that third floor. You guys know where the beds were, like in that big opening area where they said that the patients used to sleep. So we go in there with a group of people and they go all the way over by the windows. And I'm kind of standing there about 8 feet within the entrance, and to the left are those showers. And all of a sudden I just felt something like flip through my hair like 3 times, like because I had my hair down. And I was like, oh, and I look over, I see Jeff, and I run over to him, and I'm like, oh my God, something just touched me. And that freaked me out because, it was dead of winter. There were no bugs in there. There was nothing really that could have moved my hair like that. And of course I whip around, check to my left, check to my right before I ran over to Jeff, and there's nothing there, and I had to pull myself together because we're with a group of people. But yeah, that really definitely convinced me that there's definitely hauntings in that location.
She was pretty disturbed by that.
Yeah, shook me up.
It did. But as I was saying in the text here about personal experiences at the village, every year we all get together for training and then we all go to lunch together. So last year I'm sitting at a table with about 6 other guys, and they're all old timers. They've all been there for years and years and years. And I don't know how they've gotten the subject. I didn't mention it. I've never told anybody there that I do this. And the one guy goes like, I don't believe in ghosts, but everybody at that table, same thing. Don't believe in it, but every single one of them. And all of them were, pretty validated. The one guy was in the right house, and he was downstairs by himself, just had opened up the building, 8 o'clock or 9:30 in the morning, and he saw a woman at the top of the stairs dressed in period clothing. He thought it was one of the other presenters. He said, hey, I don't know who you are. You're supposed to be up there. He said the woman walked down the stairs, looked him in the eye, turned around, looked at some pictures of the right family on a table, and it just disappeared.
Wow.
He said I could have touched her. It felt like she was solid. She was there. And I still don't believe in ghosts, but I saw one.
Well, I have people in my own family that have experienced things, and everybody's always, unless you're like us where you're with groups of people who do it all the time, it can be an uncomfortable subject for some people because it's taboo. It's really taboo, So like my mom's had experiences, but when I bring them up in front of her with other people around, she's like, yeah, let's not talk about that right now. And, I don't think it should be as taboo as it is, really. It's natural.
Well, I'm like Mike. I'm skeptical about a lot of this. However, as a child, I lived in a house in Inkster, and it was wildly active. I mean, everybody that came into that house had some type of experience. And it went on for years. My mother lived in a house for 15, 18 years. And the entire time, every time somebody come in there was masses floating around, stuff would be thrown around the house all the time. And the day that we moved her out, it was me and my wife and my 2 kids were there. The house is completely empty. We're standing on the porch, and I'm getting ready to set the keys on the floor for the real estate guy. And we could hear somebody walking upstairs. Boom, boom, just footsteps. I'm like, I told my wife, I says, why is our son upstairs? He's supposed to be down here. And she goes, no, he's in the truck. So I just said, bye. And we left. I would love to go back and check that house out now, but it's a rental unit.
So that happened like as you were leaving the house for the last time?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
As we moved in there, I was about 10, 11 years old. and stuff used to be thrown at me all the time. If somebody was yelling at me, like my mother would yell at me or something, stuff would be thrown at her from out in the bedrooms and whatnot, and hitting her from 10, 15 feet away. And I had an aunt who said she was a sensitive, and she came in there and she said that it was a little girl who had died on that property before they built the subdivision. So,
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then there was
you know,
a man in the basement.
and it's very possible that the spirits were using her energy
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, whether you're angry or,
Oh, yeah.
or,
Well, there
or
was-
emotional or happy, they use that energy to,
There was a lot of
manifest.
bad juju that went on in that house when we lived there. My stepfather was a raving lunatic, and so whenever tensions got high, stuff would happen. I mean, paint cans got those. My stepfather was painting, and he had a paint can on the floor, and it just coated the ceiling, coated the walls, everywhere. Whole gallon of paint. People got pushed down the stairs. Extremely active. And like I said, I would love to go back there, but I don't have enough guns to go in that neighborhood no more, which is a shame.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, Brenda and I, as you know, we're commissioners at the West Side Museum, and that's how I met Brenda. She about 7 years ago, 6 years ago, she started coming to the museum to help out with ghost hunting, and she likes to say that I wasn't interesting. I was in my own little world. I was working at the West End Museum. I was working at the Belleville Museum. I was working midnights. I had a lot going on. I do remember the second year that they were there. I was sitting in the Octagon house in the dining room, and I can't remember the investigator's name, but we were doing like a short session, about 15, 30 minutes in the dining room. And I had been sitting in that room for 4 hours. I didn't really move. I didn't leave the house. I know what year it was. 2013. That was the year, because one of my best friends from when I was growing up had died that year, and we were sitting there 6 months after he died, and it was an app on like a tablet or something. It was I think it's called an Echovox. So she was just saying things into the machine, and words just kept coming out. And one of the words that came out was Greg, and that was my friend's name who died 6 months before. It didn't click until afterwards that nobody had said that word. Nobody that was there was named Greg. I contacted as many people that were there as possible, said, did you know anybody named Greg? Did you hear the name? And they're like, well, I don't really remember, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I distinctly remember that name coming out of this box. And that isn't really when I started to believe. Brenda knows the story about when I started to believe in the spirit world. I know it's kind of emotional for me for when I did become a believer. We were coming back from Wisconsin, and we stopped in Chicago to visit my grandfather's grave, and I couldn't find him. It was Memorial Weekend. I called my mom. She hadn't been there in 20 years. I hadn't been there in 35 years. Couldn't find him. So one of our investigators got our dowsing rods out, and we started asking yes or no questions. And I asked to speak to Claremont Eberhardt, and they crossed. So they straightened out. Can I speak to, or are we in a movie theater? and they went wide to signify no. Straightened out. Can I speak to Claremont Eberhard? They crossed again. And as soon as they crossed, they went wide to touch my shoulders to signify a hug. Now, it could have been just coincidence, but I was in his cemetery. I was looking for him. I was trying to talk to him, and it was just, that's what made me believe. It wasn't the finger to the back at Eloise.
Right.
So I
Yeah,
don't.
your first personal experience is a profound experience. It's amazing.
Right.
I had mine so young that, but I can understand is, especially as an adult, when your whole belief system changes, from not believing in it to going, holy crap, there's something to all this. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I got a little bit of personal experience with the Octagon House when it was over on Newburgh. We used to have big parties in there when it was empty. We did a lot of really bad things.
So, do you
smoke on the ceiling?
Does your team have any upcoming investigations that you're excited to go on?
They'll know.
Yeah.
Right now, the only thing that we have on the books is going to Mansfield. We had to cancel the Monroe House because we were scheduled to be there 2 weeks ago to do this whole COVID thing. We do have a couple teams. We have a couple teams lined up to go to the Whaley House.
We'll probably do that still, though, won't we? The
Monroe
House?
Yeah, we just got to get it back on the calendar.
Yeah.
See when they have some availability.
Right. You okay,
But,
Brenda?
I had to sneeze and it wouldn't come out.
Oh.
Don't keep those in.
Yeah. Pop your eardrums.
I mean, other than that, we really haven't booked anything.
We have the one client that contacted us, the Carsonville Hotel.
Up in Carsonville, yep.
I've been pulling a lot of history on that. And he's been really great too. He's been sending us things. So as soon as this whole COVID thing's over with, we're going to get over there to that. So that's a pretty cool building, pretty big.
Then there was a farmhouse out by Lansing, right? We got to get to.
Oh yeah. Yep.
That was postponed too.
We had the Richard Stryker case. Brenda shared a book with me. This is the book. It's a cold case from the 30s. We were just gonna see if there was any activity where they. So basically, the Richard Stryker was an 8-year-old boy, 7-year-old boy, that he was killed out in Depot Town in Ypsilanti, and his body was found underneath one of the footbridges to go to Frog Island. And we were just going to go and see if there was any activity near where his body was found. We did go there in January and did a little live video. So we know which bridge it was that the body was found. Then as part of that investigation, we were hoping to get into the house, which is still standing from when he was alive. But we need to contact the owner for that.
I think it's rented out to some EMU students.
Oh, okay.
They're probably stoned anyway, so it won't matter.
Well, you might be able to get in there in the summertime.
I've been to Depot Town a lot, so.
You might be able to get in there in the summertime.
Yeah.
The school's out.
Well, this poor kid was stabbed so many times, and they thought it was the mother, and then they thought it was some guy that was a cooper, did chickens.
No.
No?
Coopers are the guys that make Barrel Smith.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking chicken coop, so coop. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, I dealt with poultry. They never really solved his case. I mean, this poor kid. And then, the town actually got him a headstone, I believe.
He didn't have a headstone for like 70 years.
Oh.
So he's kind of got a little place here in my heart.
And his parents divorced years afterwards, and neither parent are buried near the boy. Which is it's odd to me that someone that young, the parents. Well, I know it happens, but that the parents didn't get buried by their son.
There didn't seem to be like a real emotional attachment with him, with the parents.
Not for either parent.
You would have to read the book.
Yeah.
It doesn't take you that long to read it. It's basically, I did a book review. It's the facts, just the facts of the case.
Right.
And the police really thought it was the mother for the longest time, but they just could not pin it on her. And then they were trying to pin it on another guy. And, this kid has just never had any closure on his death.
Mm-hmm. Sounds interesting.
Another investigation that we're planning. We're going back to Hinsdale House. We're supposed to be there the weekend of Memorial Weekend, but that's a week after the lockdown is lifted. So we don't know how the travel bans are going to be.
From state to state.
Yeah, because apparently before this extension, you couldn't go outside of your state. So we couldn't go to Ohio, and New York couldn't go in. Jessica, one of our investigators, her neighbor, her kids were in New York. And they were trying to come home. Well, they were turned back at the border. And then her neighbor was trying to go to New York to get her kids, and she was turned back at our border. So I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks that the ban is lifted.
Right.
Yeah, you probably need to be more concerned with New York.
Yeah.
Getting into New York, I guess. Because I think Michigan, you'll probably be okay getting through Ohio, Pennsylvania, who knows? But New York, with that being kind of the epicenter of everything.
Yeah.
That's just New York City, though, so.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
99% of that is.
Yeah, Western New York may be okay.
I think once it's lifted, it's going to be lifted, and that'll be it,
I don't think that I've been on lockdown since February. Because I've got 5 of the 4 major risk factors, and my wife's a nurse.
There's supposed to be another round coming.
Yeah. So my wife lives in the basement. She comes home from work, goes downstairs, takes a shower, and then that's it.
Yeah.
She goes back to work the next day.
Yeah,
so,
there's supposed to be a second wave, I guess.
I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
Plus, they got the village completely shut down. It's not going to open back up. Probably not this summer.
Right.
Because even if they lift it, we still have to go through 2 months of training and preparation of the village. So although if it does, and if a group of people were to go in there and be very surreptitious and not loud about it, you could probably do investigations in some of the buildings. I've worked there in this past fall. I've been talking to a few of the people in the different buildings, just kind of asking them. And I've told a few of the people that I do this, and everybody's really fascinated by it. So if you guys who went into some of the buildings and we're just kind of like, on the down low about it, I think that we could probably do some investigations there. Couldn't break out a lot of.
I don't know about that. I would think I would rather have permission from them.
Yeah.
Because what if you got this most fascinating evidence, and then you can't use it because you didn't get the permission?
We couldn't come out with it. But I was standing at the Susquehanna plantation. The train had just left, so I wandered down there and I'm talking to one of the girls through the back window. And this woman walked across the porch and she goes, "Hey, you know this place is haunted, right?" And then she disappeared. She just walked off. And I'm like, and I knew who she was, but she doesn't work in that building. And she would have had no reason to say that to me other than, yeah, this building's haunted. Just kept on walking. It was kind of weird.
Now I could suggest that you go down to the River Raisin Battlefield, but go in the daytime because the
We did
doesn't
that.
want it there at night.
Yeah, we
And
did
then
that.
We did that.
the Navarro Trading Post, that's where they found that girl Nevaeh. She's right down the river a little bit where they found that little girl Nevaeh. I can't think of
Yep,
the
we
last name.
tried to find the spot, but it was getting late and it was starting to rain, so
Yeah.
we didn't really. But yeah, that's the one where he took her body and covered her in a bag of cement or whatever.
Yeah.
Couple bags of cement, threw it on top of her. Yeah.
That was kind of weird for me because I was looking at one of the plaques that they have there, and apparently they found some bodies from the battle in the year 2000 or some such. I guess it was.
Right.
And one of the names is same last name as mine, which I thought was kind of weird.
Now we have someone on YouTube that's CA is the name. Just says hey. Hey.
Hey,
What were you guys talking about earlier where you were like, I don't know about that, about investigating? I was in the other room.
Oh, if there was a museum that had like a display like the Titanic,
Oh,
would you think it's ethical or unethical to go up there and take your equipment and see if you can get stuff off the artifacts?
I would think it's unethical because you would kind of treat it like you would a graveyard, you know? Maybe.
Definitely. Yeah. You'd have to.
Yeah, and then that brings up the question about ghost hunters going into graveyards then, huh? Is that ethical or unethical?
Graveyards are public spaces. They're unless it's a private graveyard, like a family graveyard,
Well, I don't
it's a
know.
public space.
Yeah, true. Yeah, exactly. So that makes it a little different because
Yeah.
it is a public place. But I don't know. I guess it would just depend on whether you got approval from the person running the show. You know?
Well, for our team, we've been to Soup Cemetery, Ganong Cemetery, Tyler Street Cemetery, and I know we've been in other cemeteries. We haven't done investigations in all of them, but we did investigation in at least 3. I think it would be difficult to do a real investigation in a cemetery because if you do contact a spirit, there could be thousands
Right.
of spirits there, so it would be, the evidence would be astronomical. If
Well,
you
just
get
think-
anything.
Just like when we first started, we started doing the urban legends of the area. Okay, we went over the Dead Bridge. We went over where, what's that cemetery where Ernie Harwell's at?
That's I forget the name of it, but it's in Farmington Hills.
So we tried to do the car
Oh, yeah,
rolling.
That's not far from my house. It's up on Grand River and Gill Road area.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with
Yeah.
that. That's not far from here at all.
And we only went there because we wanted to debunk the driving backwards.
Right.
And I think we debunked it, but others are still keep going with it.
Yeah.
What
But
about that cemetery on Michigan Avenue by Dynamite Park? There's a body shop there, and there's a little cemetery back in that corner.
you're talking about St. Mary's,
Is it?
the Catholic cemetery?
It's not that. I'm not sure the name, but it might be St. Mary's. But it's just west of Dynamite Park there on Michigan Avenue, just as you start to go down Second Street or whatever that
Yeah.
side street is.
There's actually bodies buried under Michigan Avenue there. That is part of St. Mary's Cemetery. So every time
when they widened it.
driving over somebody.
That's why I don't want to be buried.
I still want to shout out to the
That's funny.
Dressed as a clown, shot out of a cannon. It's a thing.
Hey, speaking of somebody that needs a new headstone, that Elizabeth, what is it, Elizabeth Soup?
Yeah, that we were just talking about that Elizabeth Soup.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be the witch.
And her headstone's in really bad shape.
I'm going to try this summer because, like I said, I have a lot of family buried in that cemetery, and trying to get with some of my cousins. I'm going to go out there and start cleaning up some of those headstones to make it much more legible. There's a guy in Florida called the Good Cemeterian, and he goes through the cemeteries down there and takes these little headstones and revitalizes them and restores them so you can actually make out what they are. They look like brand new when he's done. It's amazing. So we're going to try and do some of those.
You told us about that before, and I looked it up on YouTube, Jeff. I saw him on there.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive what he does.
Yeah,
I took a course at the Brighton Museum several years ago. This guy came from New England somewhere, and he taught us how to clean headstones and how to reset headstones. Nice. You know, dig them up and set them up.
Yeah.
That cemetery could use that because those are a lot of them there in really bad shape.
Oh yeah, I know. When I was there a couple times before, that a lot of this a lot of the headstones have the metal
the
braces. Yeah. That's really bad for markers. Yeah.
My great grandparents are both buried there. My great grandfather's headstone's okay, but my great grandmother's can barely read it. I didn't even know they were there until this summer. I walked across. These names are from there.
Why is it bad to have metal supports?
Well,
marble.
Yeah, it's the rusting. There's several different things that I forget which one expands and contracts, but
they both do, but at different rates.
Right. So if the metal does it faster than the marble or the other way around, yeah.
Okay.
It's better to there's an epoxy, two-part epoxy. It's better to glue them back together than rebar or brace them back together.
Or just get one of those metal ones, like the bronze ones they have that lay flat.
Yeah.
My phone died again.
Looks like Jeff's phone's died again.
Why is he sideways?
I don't know.
Sideways?
Okay, so we got about 10 minutes left to go. Is there anything else anybody wants to talk about? Brenda, do you have anything?
Should Ryan cut his beard into like a Civil War thing? Mike says no, because it's no, nothing down here. It's just a mustache and sideburns. Like,
no.
I'll show it again.
Hey, Long,
he did do it?
Go for it. So.
All right, this is what I'm talking about.
Oh no! Don't do that.
He might stir up activity.
So, 15 years ago, I actually had my beard cut like that. But I was studying to be a history teacher, so I don't know, maybe. If you, for all those that watch our YouTube channel, hopefully there's more than just two. Let us know in the comments down below if you want me to cut my beard into what's called burnsides or mutton chops.
Mutton chops. That's it. I was going to say lamb chops.
Mutton chops.
Same thing.
I really think it'll stir up activity when we go ghost hunting because they won't know what time period you're from.
Yeah,
Right.
it'd definitely be a period piece.
Well, then Mike, you should grow your hair, just around the ring there.
Yeah, I should
Around
grow
the
my hair a
musical.
bit. Yeah,
And
No,
then connect
no,
your
no.
beard to it.
bring it
No,
turn around. Yeah,
Mike, you know what I call that? You know what I call that?
what's
A
that?
shit ring.
It looked like that. That's what it looked like.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah, man.
That's
All
what it
right,
looked like.
so
Looked like a shit ring.
So we didn't get to everything I wanted to talk about. So there's probably enough for another another
Another
episode.
show.
Yep.
Cool.
And Jessica wasn't able to join us tonight, so hopefully next time we'll get her on here.
Right.
But
Well, if you
there,
guys want some company, just let us know.
okay. There are plenty of places that we can go ghost hunting. I actually looked at the old Wayne County building on, is it 600 Randolph Street? It's downtown, but it's not being used for anything, and it's supposed to be haunted. But it's owned by a company from New York somewhere.
Isn't the Wayne
So-
County morgue over there?
I don't know, but that would be a cool
Yeah.
place to investigate.
Because I used to work right next to the Masonic Temple at 640 Temple,
Do you think they're a little busy right now at the morgue?
and that place had some wild stuff going on, but you don't want to go there.
Is it
Oh,
still
yeah.
being used as a morgue?
They're always got, but they've got. I don't know. I haven't worked for the county for about 7 years now, so
Yeah.
I don't get the lowdown anymore. But, I know they probably get a lot of unclaimed bodies too down there, so
What are you doing?
it's hard to say. But Randolph,
Yeah, but a morgue.
it's a very interesting building. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, a morgue would be interesting to investigate, wouldn't it?
why would you
Well,
want?
as long as
Go ahead, Kelly.
it's empty.
I was going to say, what is somebody going to do? Oh my God, what the heck am I doing here? It's not like it was a perfect place for them or a happy place, very traumatic.
Hey,
Yeah, like why would they want to hang out there?
What are you doing to me? Oh my God. You ever watch that show 6 Feet Under?
No.
no.
Okay. Well, they're morticians, and they're always like talking to the person that's deceased while they're doing them up, the funeral director. So can you imagine that? That's what I would kind of imagine that would be going on there. Like, what are you doing to me?
Is it on Netflix, Brenda?
Yeah, no, Hulu. It was on Hulu. So I binge watched that. So it was pretty interesting. And then, my brother-in-law, he's a funeral director, so I always ask him weird questions, but
Yeah.
You ask everybody weird questions.
well, how are you gonna learn if you don't ask?
Right.
Oh,
Have you heard
So-
anything new about Brenda? Have you heard anything new from MCGH?
No, I don't mention them.
Huh?
I don't mention them.
Oh, sorry.
It's like Voldemort. Seeing Voldemort.
Hey, we went 2 hours without you saying anything. I think that's a record.
Yeah.
I haven't mentioned anything in a long time. I'm way
Yeah.
past that now. Way past
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah. They're a bunch of idiots. It's a shame.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, we just have to make sure that we maintain our integrity. This is what will make us
Yep.
stand out,
Exactly.
and do the best we can. Treat people right. You can't treat people like
Yeah.
doo-doo.
Well,
You know.
our team still has all the same people we started with a year ago.
We do too.
So that
We-
says a lot.
And we talk, our teams talk, and
Yep.
this is more parent unity than anything, because before we weren't allowed to interact with other teams.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
once all that went away, look how close we all are. Teams.
Right.
So I think it was for the best.
Yeah.
So I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I am too. I mean, and there's been a few people on our team tell us, it's nice not to get the sarcastic comments on, they'd always be on Messenger shooting back and forth accusations and who did this and who said what and all this crap, and we don't have any of that. And that's nice. It's just nice not to have to deal with the bullshit.
Yeah, and at least from my perspective, the ones that do try to do that, they kind of get shut down really quick, and then they find their way out the door themselves. We don't have to police it really that much.
Right. Well, unfortunately, the ones that did it on that team are running the team now.
Yeah, I know. So we have a few minutes left. I want to thank everybody for coming on. Brenda, Mike, Kelly, Jeff, Kaylonda for a few minutes. Hopefully we can make this a semi-regular thing. I don't know about every week but maybe once or twice a month. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff that we can talk about. Investigations that we want to go on. Probably, I don't know if Jessica would want to pull out her tarot cards at some point, or Brenda give advice on Reiki or tarot or whatever. But I think this was a good first run.
Yeah.
So thank you
It's
for
fun
coming.
and network.
Oh, thanks for having us on. Thanks for hosting
Especially
us.
with everybody being shut in right now, It's
Yeah.
nice to talk.
Yeah,
to
when the
people.
gates open up, and it'll give us a lot more to talk about cases we're on or locations
if
we're
we
going
need
to,
help
or
with
locations
something,
we've been to. Yeah,
if we need help with something, that we know who we can go to.
Sure. No, same with us.
Absolutely. Same with us.
Same with us. Yep.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for coming.
Take care.
See you guys later.
Bye.
Have a great night, you guys.
Bye.
Have a good night. So I want to thank everybody who joined us. If you want to follow us, please follow us on our Facebook page at Great Lakes Ghost Hunters of Michigan. Jessica and I are the hosts of Triple P, Past, Present, and Paranormal podcast. We have a YouTube page for the Great Lakes Ghost Hunters, and eventually we'll have one for Triple P. And we are also on Twitter, both Triple P and Great Lakes Ghost Hunters, and Instagram. And I believe Jessica's Facebook fan page is Jessica Jolene, Jolene. She'll like that I actually said it. And if you have any questions or concerns, comments, anything, just leave them below, or just message us on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you find us. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you later. And as always, stay spooky.